Let's catch up with the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 7, episode 3. Unfortunately, my husband is not here. I'm sorry. I know that John is a fan favorite, but he's spending time with his parents. His father's not doing real well, so, but don't worry, he'll be back soon. So we start off with Kenya, and no dog, no, stop it. Kenya and her aunt talking, and I'm telling you, her aunt's never going to be cast as a housewife because she's far too emotionally and psychologically stable, okay? She's the smartest person on this episode, and that she's like, Kenya, you gotta let stuff go. You gotta forgive even if people don't, ask for forgiveness. And Kenya's like, I'm not having any of that smart stuff. No, no, no. So then we cut over to Candy, Portia, and Phaedra catching up on Cynthia's party. And Candy shares that Apollo said that he lied. And Phaedra's like, oh, crap. This is, I believed him. And of course you believe your husband. But there you go. So at least she didn't try to make excuses for him or anything. She just kind of moved on. Now we cut over to Candy and Todd talking about no little dog, about having a baby. Seems like there's a lot of housewives who get married and then all of a sudden babies come up. And I'm like, didn't you guys discuss this beforehand? I don't know. We get to meet Claudia in more depth. She's, her and Kenya are at the furniture store. And I always feel like Kenya is like mugging for the camera. I find it really annoying. Nope, stop it. Claudia's a radio host. She's kind of done some modeling kind of TV work like for Deal or No Deal and Wheel of Fortune and that kind of stuff. Very beautiful. She's trouble. Right? Like we all can agree that there's something a little... I don't know what it is. She might be outrageously hilarious. She might be dastardly shady. I don't really know, but you sense that potential in her. Okay. Cut over to Portia and Nene. Now, Nene, stop it, dog. Nene says something that I kind of brought up last week about the Phaedra Apollo thing. So, first off, let's just assume for the time being, although it looks like it's up in question, that Apollo, in fact, did lie. Okay. But what I mentioned last week, and I know some people in the comments, I tried to address it, but I couldn't, had said, had brought up the text. I had brought up text, and people, I guess, assumed that I meant the text at the reunion. I was actually referring to the time that Kenya showed Candy some text, and Candy's like, yeah, you really shouldn't be calling someone else's husband hun. Okay? Doesn't make her a whore, which is what a lot of people have been accusing her of, but it does, slightly inappropriate. So... here's an innocent angel, here's a whore. That behavior is kind of somewhere in the middle. I wouldn't want some other woman referring to my husband, as baby or love or any of that and texting him. That doesn't fly, okay? It's not how my relationship flies. I guess if that's how their relationship flies, okay, but I don't think Phaedra feels that way either, okay? But... I don't know that I would go on air saying that I still think it happened. I'd kind of be like, okay, well, if Apollo says it's a lie, well, then I'll apologize for believing in him. And they all were kind of duped by him. He did, clearly lie to a bunch of people. No, little dog. Sorry, he's teething and we're having some issues. Okay, now we cut to Phaedra. Apollo goes to the lawyer who's kept wildly in business by the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And says basically that he wants to file first. We already know from Candy's wedding special that Apollo signed his prenup. That he didn't even read it. He just signed it. He didn't even argue it at all. So we know that already. So we know he signed a prenup. And, the lawyer does say, well, we need to talk privately, duh. But he says, we'll look at what you contribute to the marriage. But if he stole all that money... does he get credit for stolen money? I would assume not. And I don't know if he's ever had another job because we've never seen him work. We've never, maybe they mean the contribution to the increase in value of the house. I don't know. So anyway, I think it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's kind of shady to marry someone with more money and then be like, well, they owe me, but I don't know. I've never been through divorce, so I'm just kind of making stuff up, I guess. Now, the whole rest of the episode was awful. There are fights that I find interesting. There are fights that I find entertaining, that I find like, oh, I want to hear what happens. Cynthia and Portia, not one of those fights. First off, I'm going to address right off the bat, Portia comes in an hour late. Super rude, okay? She's not excused for that, okay? She's totally rude coming in an hour late. But to say that on Real Housewives of Atlanta, based on the number of fights we've had about this, it's hardly unusual, okay? So let's just, but still super rude. Cynthia, though, was looking for a fight. She was looking for a fight, and I didn't particularly find her behavior to be very in line with behavior I've seen from Cynthia, okay, in the past. To me, it felt like she's headed into this season with a script. She has said, this is how I want to be portrayed this season. Excuse me, little dog. And she came into this and she is now playing by this script. She talks about how awesome she is. She talked, last episode about how she's all over Peter for sex, all this stuff. Excuse me, dog. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay. And I feel like she is, no. I'm sorry. This is not going as well as expected. I really felt like this whole interaction with Portia and Cynthia, I found a little bit confusing. I didn't think it was typical Cynthia manner. If someone came at me like that, I'm not going to say I'd ever physically touch someone, because I think I just might be too much of a wimp for it. But I would verbally be all over someone who talked to me like that, because she was all in. Now, Portia doesn't get excused in this. So please don't, I'm not picking a side in this. I am just noting how unusual this was from Cynthia. And I found Cynthia more aggravating than Portia. This is not the first time that Portia's gotten into this kind of fight. Remember the whole, okay, bye, Ashy fight that she had with Kenya? So this is, I don't know. I mean, I know it's what housewives do, but certain types of fighting gets to me, and this was one of it. I was like grinding my teeth. I was like tempted to fast forward, but for the sake of the recap, I couldn't. So that seems to be where that is at. Cynthia is not Team Portia. Portia seems to be with Nene. I don't necessarily think Portia is Team Nene. I think Portia's just trying to hold on to her position, which she didn't do because she got demoted to reoccurring character. She's not really a friend, I don't think. I think I guess they filmed the whole season and then decided there wasn't enough storyline for Portia. But I'm not liking new Cynthia that much either. So there you go. And by the way, if you are a big fan of Kenya and you watch my recap, you are more than free to post your opinion. I don't care. You can enjoy the show however you like the show. These are just my thoughts on it. Okay, so the little shark jaws and I are done for the evening. We'll see you guys next week.